Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about, let's talk about, yeah. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host, and Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Wellness Wednesday, which is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to chat about something interesting and intriguing. And today is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day. And so that is our topic. We are talking healing hearts, navigating grief after pregnancy and infant loss. And this is a heavy topic, but definitely a needful conversation. My very special guest is Ms. Lola Brognano, and I'm super excited and delighted to have her. She was on with me back in May during Maternal Mental Health Month. And so she loves on the moms and on the babies and everybody. She holds everybody. And so again, really glad that she's here. But before I bring her on, I definitely want to hear from you. Let us know where you are tuning in from. Put your city and state in the comments. And please tag a friend. Let them know they need to be on here, especially if they have experienced a pregnancy or an infant loss. We are in a safe space. We want to encourage folks to tap in and their comments, your questions are very much so welcome. So I see a few folks that have joined us. Thank you so much. Shayna Renee, she said, hi Lola, hi Nicole, very needed conversation indeed. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Miss Janita, who is here in the Tallahassee area, appreciate you. And Miss Keisha Jenkins, thank you for being here, Keisha, who is also here in Tallahassee. She is a doula and a birthing professional. So thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to go ahead and share some of Lola's bio. So Lola Brognano is an extensively trained, licensed clinical social worker in private practice in Tallahassee, and passionately believes in the maternal mental health care as a necessity, not a privilege. She is a certified perinatal mood and anxiety disorder specialist, a birth trauma level 2 specialist, is EMDR trained, and is a certified pregnancy and infant loss advocate. She also has specialized training in reproductive and fertility psychology, and her work is centered around maternal, perinatal, mental health issues such as postpartum depression, perinatal and infant loss, grief, labor and delivery, NICU, or reproductive birth trauma that is inclusive of high-risk pregnancies, and the fertility spectrum that includes carrier consultations, IVF, multiple loss, adoption, and infertility. Her accolades go on and on and on. So if you don't know her, you're about to find out. All right. So listen, y'all help me welcome Miss Lola Brognano. Yay!
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, good to see you again.
You too. Thank you for being here. So tell the people who may not know you, who is Lola? Not what you do, but who are you?
Oh my.
In your own
Um
words.
well, um well, I'm sure that you have given some sort of a bio. So just basically off of that, I am in private practice. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I specialize in perinatal and reproductive mental health. And so basically everything that kind of falls under the maternal mental health umbrella, the perinatal kind of atmosphere, if you will. And so kind of right the intersections that go with that, everything from birth trauma to infertility, pregnancy after loss, so pregnancy and infant loss, which is why we're here, and a lot of the other things that we won't be talking about today, but that's mostly what I do. I also do a lot of trainings with professionals in the community. So I know a lot of the doulas, a lot of the navigators, and a lot of the people that are stakeholders in the community that are coming in through different entry points of basically the same population.
Absolutely. So, again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work that you do in the community. I see we have a few more folks that have joined us. So I want to definitely acknowledge them. DJ Do It. I'm not sure who you are, but it's okay. We're glad you're here. Hello, ladies. This space is much needed. Having personal experience is rare to find this support. We appreciate you, small, all maybe, for this sacred space. Our pleasure. We got Brother Quasi on out of Atlanta. Thank you for being here, Quasi. And Can Shaman. So glad to be here. This is so important to talk about. Yes, thank you so much. We appreciate it. So again, please tag a friend, let them know they should be part of this conversation because it is an important one. And I do believe that so many people may be, and this is not just mothers, but fathers as well, may be, suffering in silence, maybe feel like they can't talk about this because it's maybe unspeakable. And so we want to give voice to this topic and again encourage all to be a part. So because I have a licensed clinician on, I need to read my disclaimer. So just bear with me one moment. And that is that all topics, past, present, and future, on Conversations with Nicole are for informational purposes only. They are not to be used as a diagnosis for treatment or answer to any personal issues related to the topic being discussed before, during, or after the program. All right. Oh my goodness. Some more folks have joined us. Lisa Herring, thank you for being here. Said this is amazing. Miss Lola was my professor at Thomas University. She motivated and inspired me to birth safe haven and declutter the clutter. Love it. Just on with Lisa earlier today. So thank you for being here, Lisa. Warrior Woman, good evening. Thank you. Miss Jeanette down in Miami Gardens, trouble in transmission. Okay, that's fine. Well, hopefully you'll get out of trouble soon, Miss Jeanette. Kaylin from Tallahassee, thank you for being here. We appreciate it so much. All right, so yeah, let's kind of dive into the topic. Again, pregnancy and infant loss. I think this is actually the day, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so let's just talk around a little bit, like kind of, raising awareness, why it's important to raise awareness.
Thank you, firstly, for inviting me back. It's been
Absolutely.
5 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
And today is we come in with some heaviness, right? We are talking about a heavy topic here.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to acknowledge that it is very important that we know how to take care of ourselves while we're here. If we are saying something, if we aren't saying something, whatever the case may be, it's very important that you and your feelings and your triggers are yours, and know how to honor them and take care of them. If you need to step out, if you need to share, please do. We will be encouraging that as we go, but it's going to be very important that we all kind of take care of ourselves as we go through this. Yes. Because we want to enter this space today with healing and not heartbreak.
Yes.
And there is a way to have both. Okay. And so we'd like to really kind of lean in on the healing tonight. And so with today being Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day within Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, earlier tonight at 7, let's kind of move back a little and
Sure.
talk about how the day kind of usually goes. Usually at 7 o'clock local time, 7 p.m. local time, globally, there is the annual Wave of Light, and that is where everyone comes together and remembers and honors their babies and all of the babies and infants lost and that are not with us any longer. And I still have my candle lit. I had a Wave of Light earlier at 7, and I'm still going to be having this lit because someone else's 7 p.m. is going to be showing up throughout this. So that is one way that we come together and talk about healing and how we navigate. One way is by showing up to events and places that are having specific pregnancy and infant loss themed activities or groups. And that is one way. So that's why we're here today. And so before we start, I'd like to kind of bring us into this space a little bit. So I'd like to invite us in and kind of give us permission to come into this space safely. And so I usually kind of like to just start with a really quick kind of grounding, right? So if you're able to try to find a comfortable position, maybe with your feet on the floor, your hands resting in your lap, whatever feels comfortable for you. You don't need to fix or change anything right now. Just notice that you're here. Notice your breathing, you're listening, being in your body and being alive in this moment. Okay. So just notice that. Take a slow breath in through your nose. Feel it go through your mouth. And do that with intention. Inhale what you need and exhale what you don't. As you breathe, feel the ground supporting you. If your mind is racing, if your body is tense, if your jaw is tense, that is okay, right? Try to just let that out. Just let it go, okay? There's no right way to feel. You've arrived in this space with your grief, with your love, with your memories, and they are all welcome here. So let's kind of just take stock of our bodies. What do you notice? What do you notice in your feet? Feel them grounded. Feel them on the earth. You are present in your body on this earth. Your legs, your hands, your heart. Heart might be here and it might be aching, but it's still beating. It's still capable of love.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of as you breathe, imagine a light expanding in your chest, the warmest of warm that you can feel gently through your chest, filling it with that warmth and reminding you that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means carrying your love differently.
Yes.
So let's take one more deep breath in, intentional in, for the ones that we've loved, for the lives that we've imagined, and for the hearts that we are still healing. As you exhale, release just a little of what's heavy today. You are safe here. You're not alone in this space. And we are here for healing.
All right.
All right. We are ready to go.
We are ready. Okay, so a couple more comments I want to bring our attention to. Kaylin said, Lola is my qualified supervisor, and she's such a champion for maternal mental health. It's inspiring. Yes, she is. All right, my mom is on down in Miami. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Mom.
Yes. All right, and Ken Shaman said thank you. It also said my sister has lost 3 pregnancies and my niece is on the cusp of losing her 5-month-old. It's such a scary time, and we all need a space to feel the love and support.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sorry. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. All right, and Miss
Wow.
Jeanette logged out and logged back in, so she's back with us. Wonderful. Thank you. Oh, all right. So again, today is the day, October, all month. There's awareness and education being brought to this very important topic, right?
Absolutely. And there's a lot of places that we can go to see that online, especially. I'm sure a quick Google might bring us to a lot of spaces, but there's a lot of big names out there that this is, their jam. This is what they do. This is who they focus and serve. And it's very important, as we can see, that we have this space. This is something that unfortunately has brought some of us together, right? We are not necessarily happy to be in this club if we're in it. We didn't ask to be in it, but we're in it. We're here. And so the numbers are pretty staggering. The numbers are 1 in 4. 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage. And I'd like to point out that 43% higher chances of miscarriage for women of color compared to their white counterparts. And so those are stark realities. And that is a different conversation, clearly, of how those things come to be. But we are here to talk about those things. We have 1 stillbirth for every 160 live births. And again, we have millions of births every year. And so we have infant loss, and infant loss is considered anything up to 1 year. And again, that's about 5 for every 1,000 live births. And so again, that's a high number, actually. And the numbers help to kind of bring us together and realize we're not alone, right? Like, wow, like there's 2 of us right here. Okay. And that's half of that number. And so it's important that we note that so that we can realize we're not alone, but every single one of our stories is different. No one experiences this same event the same. And so that's what we're here to do, is to honor every individual story, because behind these numbers, right, Nicole, is a mother, a father, a non-birthing parent, siblings, grandparents, communities. And that's who we are. We're not numbers.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. A few folks have chimed in. Kaylin, she said, having endometriosis, I'm terrified about the loss I may experience, but meeting the perinatal crew we have and seeing more people bringing this to light and having the discussions is encouraging. Thank you for sharing that, Kaylin. Your transparency. I really appreciate that, because I think absolutely, conditions such as endometriosis and other feminine reproductive issues can definitely, bring pause to, the whole thought of even giving birth, right? Because of the possibility, the higher probability of the pregnancy not going full term.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, right? Like, that's heavy. That's hard. That's a space that needs carving, right? Because we don't talk about this, but we certainly don't talk about things that might, right, be a consideration for someone maybe who wants to have a baby so badly, and certain conditions and certain other things that, of course, right, with our reproductive situations could possibly put us in a position, I'm sure we all remember Steel Magnolias, that movie, right? Miss Shelby wanted to have a baby. Okay. And she was willing to risk her life to have a baby. That's not everyone's reality. That's not everyone's ability. But the point being that there are considerations such as endometriosis that can either prevent right from the get. And then you're like, wow, I have to grieve something I didn't even know I had lost. Right. And then, or the getting in the ways along the way, that it's becoming a consideration of, is loss something I'm able to bear? What if someone has gone through so much complicated loss already, complicated grief in their life, their own story coming to that day leads up to how a woman views, right, whether or not pregnancy is the right thing for them.
Yeah. For sure. Miss Jeanette said the Catholic community is celebrating Respect Life Month, October. Emphasis on life form conception to natural death. Special attention to mothers who have lost babies. Nice. I'm glad to hear that they are doing that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. The lost community,
Mhm.
wanted babies are the core of the lost community.
Mm.
That it is absolutely important that faith systems are included
Mm.
in this conversation. I think too many of them are not included. They exclude themselves because, again, our community as a whole is
Mhm.
uncomfortable with grief as a whole, let alone pregnancy and infant loss. It's the most disenfranchised out of all loss, and
Yeah.
so it's very nice to hear that. Thank you for sharing that. That there is a faith institution that is bringing awareness to this month.
Indeed. So a couple of more comments. Keisha, Lola, and the perinatal crew hold space for so many people, including myself. Thank you, Nicole, for holding this space tonight. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you, Keisha. Tracy Gole has joined us. Thank you for being here. Tracy, Marcus Boston in Tampa has joined us. Thank you for being here, Marcus. And Lisa said, although I am a mother of 4, I had a stillborn at 16. I didn't realize that was a traumatic experience until I started my social work degree. Wow. Oh, wow, wow. Yeah, thank you for
Right.
sharing it. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing it. Yeah. Um,
Mm.
Ken Shaman says, I have a question. When a pregnancy is really touch and go on a daily basis and the prognosis is slim and doctors maybe are preparing for early delivery, how can family and friends support?
Wow.
Mm,
Yeah. Thank you for asking that, because
yeah.
that is really important. Thank you, Can Shaman, for asking that question, because
Mm,
a lot of times our friends and families have the most love for us, and their intentions
mm-hmm.
are high, but it doesn't always translate.
Yeah.
Because, again, we're not prepared in any way for loss. Generational, culturally, religiously, we're just not good with it. Humans suck at pain to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to grief in our society specifically,
Yeah.
we don't deal. And so it is very important to kind of know how to lean into it, I think, because we certainly know when people have been through grief what it's like when the well-intended say things that are not very helpful. We find that, right, when a sentence starts with "at least," it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't usually end well. At least you can, at least you this. So the way to lean into support, often I kind of find, is, I mean, I am a licensed professional, but I'm still a human being. And at the end of the day, half the time, I don't know what I'm doing either. I don't know what room I'm walking into. I don't know what to say. And I find to be organically authentic to be what people identify with the most. That's what we align with the most, when someone is authentically present with me. And so oftentimes, if I don't know what to say, I'll say that. I
Mm,
say exactly that. I don't really know what to say right now, but I love you and I'm here with you.
yeah.
Right. Um,
That's good.
how can I hold your heart right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are a lot of things, a lot of the leaning into. If your loved one has named their baby, we use the baby's name.
Mm,
Okay, we make sure of that, whether even if their prognosis is not good. Even if we know for a fact that right, that there it might not be compatible for life, for a long period of life, we are still leaning in to whatever the parents are saying is what they want. So if parents want pictures, we're going to make sure they get their pictures.
yeah.
Okay. And so one of the things, right, the biggest support is learning how to become comfortable when you're uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
right? So kind of be able to, if you're able to keep checking yourself, right, that you're becoming uncomfortable. Well, we're talking about uncomfortable things,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Taking pictures of really small babies that
Mm,
we're not sure might
yeah.
live. sustain life, it's not a good feeling, but it's
Mm.
definitely not good for them either. And so often, again, we want to remember that intention is not impact. And so we want to be very careful with what we're saying, and especially with what we offer. If you need anything, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you know.
Thank you for that. So a few more folks have joined us. My girlfriend Sharice out of Atlanta. Thank you for being here. And Ketchup, maybe, from Tempe, Arizona. Thank you for being here. All right. Kim is responding, said same, and I'm scared that I'm too late to try. So a lot of fear around, the possibility, especially if there are some reproductive issues already in place. So thank you for sharing.
And that's a big one too. Let's also add that unfortunately, women have a time limit, right? Even when nothing before, we're still going to reach, whether we like that or not, an age cap.
Yeah.
And so there definitely starts to come into the space more risk factors for sure. And as Kaylin has mentioned, when you have co-occurring, especially medical conditions, it kind of puts women and birthing people almost like under a microscope, that they have to like figure something out very quickly.
Yeah.
When it really shouldn't be like that, right? That this isn't how we plan. That's not how we think, right? That this is all going to work out for us, right? That we've got a clock kind of ticking, and we have to make a decision. And women with endometriosis, they kind of do, and other conditions, and it can really be a really hard place to be. And when you start coming into the realities like infertility and recurrent loss, those are also things that we don't consider to be loss. That when someone is on, right, like let's say in vitro, or having some kind of IVF, any kind of reproductive assistance, that every month that she gets her period is a loss. That's exactly what that is. Every single month is a loss. And so we will talk about that later as well. That loss is not just the physical death. There's all of the other kinds of loss that come with it.
Yeah. Whew. So Janita said something that I think is also pretty profound. She said, to be very transparent, sometimes I feel grief without a physical loss. To have and loss or lose hurts, and to never have is loss as well.
Yes, it is. Thank you for being so transparent, because there's
Yeah.
not a lot of space out there sometimes to talk about how we really feel about this, right? About sometimes, for example, our connection and our love for our babies is not measured by gestational age. Okay. So a woman can miscarry at 6 weeks and have the exact same connection and grief. And someone who maybe, thank you, has wanted their whole life and has to use maybe, right, other ways to become pregnant, never becomes pregnant.
Yeah.
They are experiencing loss. Absolutely. And we're going to honor that in here. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Whew. All right. So we are almost at the halfway point of this conversation. So for those of you who may be just tuning in, I am on with Lola. And Lola, please make sure I pronounce this right. Brognano.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Who is a licensed clinical social worker, but qualified supervisor. And she deals very heavily in maternal mental health, and birthing humans, right? Birthing mothers, with fathers, with family members. And we're talking pregnancy and infant loss. Today is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Day, Awareness Day. And the whole month of August, there's awareness being brought around this topic. And so we're talking healing hearts, navigating grief after pregnant and infant loss, and maybe, as was just mentioned by Janita, not having and feeling that loss as well. Right.
Absolutely. And Can Shaman, let's also validate as well that anticipatory grief is
Mm-hmm.
what that is, right? When we know something, right, is not so, the prognosis isn't so well,
Yeah.
that anticipatory grief has already begun.
Mm-hmm.
And so, right, the way to lean into that for yourself, right, is to keep checking in with yourself as well. How are you doing? How's your heart doing? So that we can be available and provide that bandwidth, that emotional bandwidth. Is often, right, the supportive presence. We're never going to know the right thing to say. So sometimes say that there's no words I can say that's going to make you feel better,
Mm-hmm.
but I am here. I'm going to be here with you in your grief. And so there's many forms of grief, right? Grief of never having, grief of having and loss, anticipatory grief, and again, all the other griefs that we will talk about for sure.
Absolutely. No, I like the honesty of that, that there are no words that I can say to make you feel better, but I'm here, I'm present, and, however I may support you, that's what I'm here to do, right?
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that because, like we've already stated, sometimes you don't know what to say. You just don't know what to say.
Right. And it can be to somebody who you know how to say everything else to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. Hunt 32. Oh, wait a minute. 3288. Thank you for holding this tonight. Our pleasure. Ken Shaman, any advice you have for women around shame that have smoked or not cared for their bodies as they feel they wanted to and ended up losing their baby late in pregnancy? I have friends dying in guilt.
Yo, whoa, right? Okay, so that's big. Everyone has a feeling about that. Everyone has an opinion on that, and we want to kind of move the noise aside when it comes to having judgment on what other people do with their bodies and bodily autonomy. And I don't allow that to come into my space. What women and birthing people should be doing with their bodies. That's not allowed in the space that I come into. So when we do that, when we come into this specifically, we're going to challenge ourselves, everybody in here, please, to come in here with this as we talk about this specifically, about that we are wanting to help her heal. Okay. And no judgment, because that's going down a slippery slope. Okay. Of right, taking away pregnant rights over fetal rights, and that's not what this is. Okay.
Mhm.
So the advice, I would say for smoking or anything else, let's just kind of put it up there. Okay. Smoking is a risk factor. Okay. So a risk factor is a correlation. It's not a causality. There's also many other risk factors, such as having a cat. Okay. Such as dyeing your hair. So let's go ahead and put them all in the same bag and not give weight to one more than the other, because at the end of the day, there is usually never, I believe, if I recall, it's 98.7% of the time we cannot attribute any one thing to a woman's losing a pregnancy. So we can just move that to the side and right and take comfort in knowing that it most likely had nothing to do with that, because our bodies a lot of times already know there's something not right with this. It needs to go. It's very early. There's a lot of problems with the pregnancy itself. Okay. And that small percentage of chance that we are able to find out what it is, it's never those things. It's always medical. It's chromosomal. It's some kind of situation medically. Okay. And so the way I would lean into that, honestly, is to let them know that, right, that healing, okay, is forgiveness over something that they couldn't control at all, and that there are so many risk factors, and that no matter if a woman lives in a vacuum, even, right, okay, in a bubble, and doesn't have any risk factors, can absolutely be the 1 in 4 anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Whew.
I
Okay.
hope that answered some part
Yeah.
of that.
Gave some, yeah.
And maybe also, right, saying, I will never judge you. I
Mm,
love you. You
yeah.
can tell me anything,
Mm-hmm.
over and over.
Right. Right. Okay. So, and thank you for that question, because that the dying and guilt piece is real. Is very real. So,
Yeah.
all right. So Marcus is sharing with us. He said, I was 19 when my 21-year-old girlfriend stood up bleeding after we had relations. Then a blob fell from her. She burst into tears, and I observed in shock, looking at what I believed was my baby.
Thank you for sharing that, Marcus.
Okay.
When you were 19, young, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And please remember, everyone, right, that as we're sharing our stories, part of storytelling is healing. Okay. All
Mm,
right.
yeah.
Because Marcus, there's not a lot of space for men and fathers and non-birthing parents in this arena.
Mm,
Okay. But we are trying every day in this world, the grief world, to create more space for that. Okay. Because men, fathers, and non-birthing parents experience this as well. But oftentimes men don't feel like they have the space to talk about it because
mhm.
who am I to talk? I didn't have the miscarriage. I didn't have this, right? They don't experience it physically. So
Right.
oftentimes they feel guilty or selfish for even having feelings. So thank you, Marcus, for bringing that in here and for having the courage to share that.
Absolutely.
Mhm. And
Absolutely.
please remember, everyone, to take care of yourself as we talk about our stories in here.
Please take care of yourself as we talk about the stories. Yes, yes. Janita said, thank you, Marcus, for sharing and trusting the space. Absolutely. Thank you, Marcus. Kaylin, responding to Kim, I feel that way was well given. I'm 30 and nowhere near being ready for a child, but wanting a family so bad. Mm,
Right,
yeah.
right, right. Kind of you're not ready, but if you feel or told or think that you don't have as much time to
Mm,
get to that place, it's like what do you do with this fault line right here?
yeah. Yeah. No, it's real. It's
Mhm.
very, very real. Um, Deja, do it. Any advice on how mothers can better support fathers or non-birthing partners who are grieving too, but may express it differently? Mm,
Yeah.
that's a good
Well,
question.
okay, it's going to be hard, right? When you're experiencing grief, it can be very hard sometimes, right? To go beyond yourself and your grief for
Right.
someone else's grief. So okay, thank you for bringing that up. Okay. Because when couples go through this, okay, or maybe they're not romantically partnered anymore, but they're going through this. Okay. It I would say, if the mother is that aware, right, that they're able to lean into that,
Mm-hmm.
to absolutely open the conversation, right, and say, right, like, can we talk? I
Mm,
know that you have also experienced this, and can we talk?
mm,
um, and invite them in. Also encourage, by the because in that moment they might not be comfortable, because again, because of those feelings of guilt and shame, and perhaps again they don't have words. A lot of times, men are conditioned in our society mostly to only identify with anger
yeah.
as their their primitive, expression of emotions. And
Mm-hmm.
so even grief for a lot of people, but especially men, can come out as anger.
Yeah.
And so there are places for men to go with just men sometimes, right? Because again, if they're not conditioned, they might not feel comfortable talking to another woman about this,
Mm,
showing that side. And so there are a lot of other spaces that are being created for that. So encourage them to come into the space as a couple experiencing this together, that you're there for them as well.
Yeah.
If they want to be able to talk to someone else, again, right, finding space outside of y'all's space would be
Mm,
very helpful as well.
yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that question too. Per personal experience, I can feel alone if you feel you're the only one grieving the experience. Mm,
It
yeah.
feels like that, especially pregnancy and infant loss is so alienating.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because if we think about kind of like the trajectory sometimes, right, about how women and birthing people are in this alone actually from the get, because we're kind of conditioned, right, to not even announce our pregnancy until the first trimester. But what that kind of means is like we're walking alone if
Mm,
we have a loss in that time, especially.
yeah.
Now we definitely can't talk to people, especially because they didn't even know. Now
Mm,
they're not even going to understand why I'm even acting away. And
mm,
so we've got to get out of this narrative,
mm,
right? That we can't handle this. We've got to learn how to handle this, because women and birthing people have to stop being alone in this from the jump. We shouldn't be alone in the pregnancy. We shouldn't be alone in the birth. We shouldn't be alone in the postpartum. We shouldn't be alone in the death and the grief and the loss and the bereavement either.
yeah.
And so part of why we're here is to absolutely bring awareness, but also to break the silence and the stigma, because this is not a secret. This should not be a secret, because when we don't talk about it, it means that we're not talking to our daughters about it, which
Mm,
means they're going to think they're alone when they're not alone. Look
yeah.
at how many of us in here have talked about our experiences. We are not alone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Whew. All right. So Marlene has just joined us, my girlfriend. I appreciate you being here, Marlene. And lots of folks chiming in, thanking Marcus for sharing his experience. And Marcus said, "You're welcome," and thank you as well. Um, yeah. So there needs to be quite a bit of compassion and empathy all the way around, right?
Absolutely.
Mm,
Right. And, holding space, right, is really just, you're right, stepping into where the person is and being willing to go with them wherever it goes.
mm,
Most of the time we don't know where that's going, but we're willing to go there with that person, right? So
yeah.
when they're down on the ground crying that guttural sound that you've never heard before and you're never going to forget, get down there with them,
Mm,
right? It might be us down there one day.
yeah.
So navigating grief, right, is part of that, is the healing part.
Mm,
Okay.
mhm.
Is finding meaning after loss and navigating with the loss, because it's not linear. It's definitely not the way the 5 stages is taught to us. It got taken out of context. There is no end stage to it. We don't get to acceptance and then, you know, right. It's not. It's something that we learn to navigate with. And so
Yeah.
part of that is showing up into spaces like this and talking and sharing
Absolutely.
and going to events that might be around town. For example, Tallahassee, right? Just last week, the Coalition of Healthy Start, we had a walk to remember that we have every year. And man, those families show up every year to honor and remember their babies.
Yeah.
Okay, right? That's how we can start to break the silence and the stigma and start to have generations down be able to know, right, that we're not alone in this and that we actually do have support and that there's ways to remember. For example, one of the ways that we're going to talk about healing is how to do that is we can create things, right?
Mhm.
Memory boxes,
Yes.
right? Right. If especially if we have certain information, names, due dates.
Mhm.
Okay. If that's all we have, if all we have are due dates, well, we know the month and we know the gemstone, right? That we can put for like a memory bracelet.
Mm.
We're going to lock it around your heart. It can be the gemstone color of that month. Every
Mhm.
month has a flower as well. We can plant that in our backyard, right? So that it's
Mhm.
always present with us. Okay. There's ways that we can do that. We can have things in memory of, right? The way that people do in hospices, they'll put in memory of plaques and stuff. There's
Mhm.
many different ways, but showing up in spaces and telling stories, storytelling is what we have found to be one of the biggest ways that humans heal when it
Mm.
comes to grief and loss and trauma.
Yeah. So I want to pause there and see if any of the viewers have done any of the things that you are suggesting, which I think are all phenomenal. Uh, the memory box, the memory bracelet, planting flowers, um, showing up in spaces like this to share your story or to have community. Um, I think all of those are really great. So if you all have done anything, any of the things that Lola has suggested or have done something else, let us know in the comments so that we can learn from one another. I think that's beautiful though. Yeah. And I think it's a special way to celebrate, you know.
Absolutely. So the walk to remember,
Mhm.
they have a quilt, and the way that the attendees there is, they will put their babies' names. They will name their names, their due dates, if that's what they have. That is how is we will not have this erased. This
Mhm.
happened. I have a baby. I have a baby. It's a non-living baby. Okay, but I am still a mother to that baby. I am still a father to that baby. I'm still a parent, a grandparent, a sister to that baby.
Mhm.
And we are going to acknowledge that and not have it erased. When grandpa dies, we don't erase every piece of their existence as if they never existed, right? We don't take
Mhm.
every single thing and never talk about them again, right? Like it's some kind of secret, like we do with this. And so we want that to become less and less. And so part of that is through the memory keepers, the memory sakes that we do. But we also want to talk about the other losses, right? That
Mhm.
we also can't forget as well, because when we're only focused on that, the other ones become very large when the
Yeah.
other thing starts to quiet down a little bit.
Mm.
Okay. And it does. It will quiet down after everybody stops calling like they do at 3 weeks, right? The expiration of grief is
Mm.
about 3 weeks.
Mm.
The meal trains stop, the phone calls stop, the check-ins stop, all that. And so then it gets quiet. And then the other losses become very big. Loss of
Mhm.
identity. Our relationship could have broken down during that time. We have a loss of that. We have loss of all the ways we thought, right, the holidays were going to look. Well, this year, Christmas is right around the corner. Christmas was supposed to look different for a lot of people this year,
Yeah.
right?
So Lola I mean, she is dropping gems right now and kind of rolling through it, but I hope you all are really hearing what she's saying because yes, there's, beyond, like she's saying, this expiration of grief, these 3 weeks, then there's other things that come up, other thoughts of loss or unmet expectations or goals or hopes and dreams and aspirations that were unrealized, right? And so, how do we navigate that? How do we navigate that? Marlene just put a comment in. She said, "I know someone who has had," and she corrected it, 2 miscarriages. Um, and she's pregnant again, 20 weeks. She packed a just in case hospital bag today because this is the time when she lost the previous two. She said, I didn't know what to say to her except she shouldn't think like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yikes. Okay. So, that one's tough, clearly, right? She's got it in her mind. Okay, right? Like she's walking on eggshells. Yeah. If she's experienced it before and it looks almost identical, right? Like how could she not think that, right? Okay. And so we want to lean in more, let's say, Marlene, okay, into honoring actually how she's feeling. Okay. It's understandable why she's feeling like that. Okay. And really, right, honor that. Say, I totally understand why that bag makes, right, that you'd want to have that bag. Maybe you could ask her, does the bag make you feel prepared or better?
Mm,
They're not the same.
mm,
Okay.
mhm.
and just kind of go with the flow. Just kind of go with the flow. I can totally understand why somebody would feel prepared, right? I want to be prepared this time. Okay. I get it. Right. I get it. Okay. But I understand that it's making her feel better too. No matter what she says, honor it, because that's how she's feeling. Okay. And just remind her that no matter what happens, okay, that you're there, that
Yeah.
you are there for her, whether or not she has the bag, whether she doesn't have the bag, whether she needs to go or she doesn't go, that
Yeah.
you are there for her. Okay.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
Right?
She said thank you. All right. So we also have Coach Anna on, who is a grief coach. And she says storytelling is a go-to and powerful way to help move emotions from the body, alleviating stress and anxiety through the release of pent-up pain.
Yes,
Indeed.
yes.
Yes.
I'm sure you know, because you're talking about it, right? That somatic, right? That the body keeps the score. Absolutely. So any kind of way, right? Once we start verbalizing, writing even our story, it's coming out of our body, and it needs to.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for being here, Coach Anna. So she said in response to Marlene's scenario, she said she is responding to her reality of past losses.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Janita, a few coworkers and I have a beloved brunch or dinner quarterly. It's a space where we can pause and honor our loved ones. I curated the brunch as part of healing. Love
I love
it.
that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Right? Like that is a beautiful space that is few
Mm,
and far between, right? That we can come together and still have that grief, but be able to come and share the love and the fellowship with each other and hold each other and heal.
yeah. Oh, that's good. Thank you for sharing that, Janita, again. I think that's great. Coach Anna said beautiful tribute. Yes, agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, great.
Whew. All right. So trying to think of if whether or not we have kind of covered most of what we wanted to cover, if not all. Is there anything you think we're missing? I think that, how to heal, getting on the other side of grief and healing, and not that grief is over, but just, where you can potentially function better.
Yes, and if you or anyone around you notices that you're not, okay,
Mhm.
that clearly, right, we want support. We want to find the people and the places around us that provide support. We want to
Mhm.
look for any local support groups
Yes.
for counseling, specifically if you can find a perinatal loss counselor, that would be ideal, but they're few and far between, unfortunately. But a grief counselor, there are a lot of times you can find online free virtual grief support groups. The best thing about those is you can turn your camera off. You
Mhm.
don't have to tell your story if you're not able in the moment. Maybe you've told it a million times before, but that day you just can't for some reason. Maybe it's an anniversary or something like this. But there are places and spaces. And so we have to take care of ourselves, and we have to take care of our people around us.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
also like to say to lean into your faith systems if you have it, that
Mhm.
they need to start to be able to handle this as well. That is also, again, right, one of the things that people could struggle with when it comes to grief is they could have a hard time with their spiritual side when they experience a loss. So lean into that as well for your strength.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yes. Kaylin, I'm very thankful that there's a space for this conversation that is just
Yeah.
so important. Thank you, Kaylin. And Ken Shaman, I'm sending her prayers. Thank you for that. And Marcus, I'm grateful for this conversation tonight. Thank you. You're welcome,
Thank
Marcus.
you.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. So I wasn't sure. I know we had talked about some resources, and I know you kind of mentioned some kind of generically, but did you have some specific ones? If not, it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to pregnancy and infant loss, there's a couple of one nonprofit organizations that are centered solely on this. And the first one that comes to mind is Return to Zero. That is one that has so many resources, so many support groups, books, podcasts, all of those kinds of things available there. And then we've got the Star Legacy Foundation that is very known as well as the Miss Foundation, MISS, Miss Foundation. Those are like the top three. But there's many, 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 and they all kind of do a little different things. Some of them actually offer financial support. Some people just do not have the finances for certain parts of this to even write. Some send out memory boxes. Some have free support groups, and they all touch different parts of this journey, and they all offer different things.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Thank you for that. Coach Anna said grief never ends, but the the intensity changes with time, provided we seek healthy ways of grieving with the first year. We must feel to heal, and that includes naming our emotions. Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so I want to give you an opportunity to give some closing remarks and then tell the folks how they can connect with you, Lola.
Well, I would just like to thank everyone for coming in here today. This is definitely not something that, we enjoy talking about or acknowledging, but it's very important that we do that. It's very important that we provide ourselves this space as well as other people the space, because we are not trying to have erasure of what someone holds in their heart every minute of their life. And so thank you for taking the time to come in here and share your stories. It can be very difficult to do, but it can be very healing. And usually when someone tells their story, it's actually healing someone else too. So keep that in mind when you leave here today, that you have probably helped at least one person. Okay. So thank you for that. And I can see right there running along the bottom that's how you can find me. I'm on social media. I am on Facebook, on Instagram, and my email and phone number are going along the bottom. I would just like to add that there's no right or wrong way to grieve. Okay. And that grief is not a problem that needs to be fixed. It's just love with nowhere to go. Okay. And so the big waves and the small waves, it's going to be with us as we go through life. Right. And what we learn as we navigate and try to find meaning is that the hard stuff, the big waves that are coming at us from right as we go forward this way, we've already done the hardest thing in the world. Everyone mostly in the human world agrees that losing a child is the worst thing a person can go through, the worst thing. With that being said, then you've already done the hardest thing in the world. And so the big waves that come after that, we can do them, especially when we have spaces and support. So thank you very much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lola, for sharing and for, just what you do is so important. And I just appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
So someone said, where can we find more of this support? Keisha said Shades of Blue Project and Postpartum Support International are additional resources.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Keisha. Appreciate it. Let's see. Mama Yada just joined us. She said, I think there needs to be more awareness around specialists that moms can use when loss is frequent, not just an OB. Agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Ketchup. Thank you both. Let's see. Ken Shaman said, I've been following Lola for years. She is a spectacular resource for wisdom and support, and I'm so glad she led me to Nicole as well. They are powerhouse. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Janita, this was an amazing conversation. Thanks, Nicole and Lola. Our pleasure. Thank you for tonight. It's so important. Thank you, Kaylin. Return to Zero was another resource that was mentioned. And Star Legacy and Miss Foundation. Coach Anna, thank you for the conversation. Much needed. Thank you. And Deja, do it. We need more of this. Thank you, ladies, for holding this space. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Grief is the overflow of love. Yes, I love that. Grief is the
Yes.
overflow of love. And you said grief is love with nowhere to go. I've heard that a few times. So yeah, I like to think of it in that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I appreciate that. Um, and Marcus is my hype guy. Okay. So he put in the comments, please like and subscribe to Conversations with Nicole. Yes, Marcus, tell the people, please like and subscribe to Conversations with Nicole. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribing and supporting. We need all the support we can get. And we are here on Mondays and Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. primarily focusing on mental health and wellness, especially in Black and Brown communities. And so this, again, conversation is one that I think is just hitting, just hitting. It's a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, as we've talked about tonight. And it doesn't have to be the case. It doesn't, the shame and the guilt doesn't have to be the case. We need to share our stories, and we need to identify some ways to heal, as we've already talked about tonight. So I thank you all so much for your comments, your engagement tonight, your transparency tonight. That's just been phenomenal. And thank you, Lola, for again everything that you do and for such a wonderful conversation. So I want to encourage our viewers to keep the conversation going. Please share this link with somebody that you think can benefit from this conversation. And let's support one another with this very important issue of pregnancy and infant loss. Okay. All right. Well, listen, it's FAMU homecoming, so y'all be safe out here. Okay. Be safe.
Yeah.
And wait a minute, Coach Anna put something up. She said, join me on November 10th for navigating grief during the holidays. Nice. All right. So y'all check out Coach Anna for her I think she's doing a broadcast on that on her platform. So check her out, check her out, check her out. All right. Lola, you have anything coming up that you want to mention?
I am going to be having a support group sometime in December,
Okay.
and I will be putting that up on my socials.
All right, very good. So please follow Lola, reach out to her, connect with her, and stay abreast of what she has going on. Okay. All right, good people. We're signing off. We'll see y'all next time.